Hi, this is Zena Krogadal. Welcome to American Dream Makers. I am your host today, and I'm really excited about our guest. Before I introduce our guest, though, let me play my intro video. Hang on just a second. Hello, I'm back. A little bit of a fun intro there. Today we've got a fantastic guest. And before I introduce and bring him on, I do want to ask that if you are watching this, if you could please share this out, we'd appreciate it. And then if you have any questions, please be sure to put it into the chat. Anyways, today we have Ron Jones. He is a best-selling author, speaker, coach, and entrepreneur who has developed sales leaders in insurance, real estate, and the mortgage field for over 40 years. He is a fantastic guy, and I'm excited to bring him in. So let's get started. Hi, Ron. How are you today?
Hi, Zena. Thank you for having me on your show.
Oh, we are so glad you took some time off. I know you're a busy, busy fellow, so thank you so much for being here.
Absolutely.
So tell us about it yourself.
Well, as you stated in the intro, I've been working in the insurance industry off and on since the 1980s. Back in the early 80s, I was in the real estate business, and we had a crash in '86, and so I went from being a millionaire by the age of 27 to being completely broke by the age of 30. So that wasn't very that, that wasn't a very long period of time. I enjoyed it while I had it, but it made me understand the importance of it let me know what it felt like to have that kind of money, but it also gave me the opportunity to learn from the things that happened. So um, I got in. I went back to school. I got my degree, and then was a counselor for about 9.5 years. Kind of did a few other things, and then I uh, that entrepreneurial spirit kicked back in again, and I got into insurance, and I found that was really my home. And so in I made that my career for the rest of my career until I semi-retired in 2016. Most of my career in the insurance industry was recruiting. So I went from being an associate to a trainer, and then became a recruiter where I built my own team. Then in 2016, I decided that it was time to um, kind of venture out on my own, in respect of um, that instead of just doing it for myself, that I would get in there and start recruiting for insurance companies and agencies, and helping insurance agents as far as to be retained in the business. Uh, you know, um, Statistically, people that come into the business, insurance business in particular, um, don't stay in the business. In fact, 92% or 98 or 92 out of 100 people don't ever renew their insurance license once they get it. So those aren't very good odds. And then when you consider the Pareto principle, the 80-20 rule, it doesn't even meet that. And so really, all we were seeing were the people that were making it in the industry. um, I started seeing a common theme. So that's when I decided that I would start my own company, which is RO Virtual Marketing. It started out as RO virtual recruiting and then RO virtual recruiting and leads. And then now we've ultimately ended up with RO virtual marketing. And so what we do is we do help insurance companies and the agents to actually to get qualified candidates in front of them so that they can save their time and energy and save a lot of money by letting us put the right candidates in front of them. And then once they have recruited those candidates, then we can help those agencies to develop their teams. Now, we do our mantra is recruit, train, and retain, but really it's really recruit, develop, and retain. The only reason why we don't really talk so much about development and training is because it flows off the tongue a little bit easier. But really, um, it is more about development. And it's really because where I found a gap in the industry was, and the reason why we had so many people that were leaving the industry was, we've evolved from when I got into the insurance industry in the 80s after losing everything in the real estate business. And of course, we didn't have cell phones back then, and it was a completely different game. And in fact, I was recruited by the newspaper. I was sitting on my uh, couch, and my wife and I was feeling sorry for myself because I had lost everything. And my wife handed me a newspaper with some circles around some ads and said, I think it's time that you go find something to do. And so I ended up in the insurance business. And so, and then and throughout um, the, the history of insurance, the people that made it were the ones that had people there that cared about them. They had mentors and they had coaches and they had somebody that would go out with them. Um, you know, so, like somebody might have an appointment on a Saturday morning and they would, get up, go out with them, and uh, and if they had a no show, then they would go door knocking. They would go and they would do something. So there was a lot of hand holding and then coaching and developing along the way. But what we were finding, especially as the internet came along and people started recruiting by job boards, and we lost that touch that was there before. And so that's one of the reasons why that we have the issue that we have today. And so when we started our company, that's why we decided that we just didn't want to recruit, but we wanted to recruit the type of candidates that were good quality candidates. And then that if the person that was recruiting them didn't have the time or the ability to develop them, we would step in to do that. And which in turn, they were able to make the kind of money that they could make to support their families and then stay in the business.
Wow. You've definitely have experienced a lot of things. It sounds like lots of experience, lots of ups and downs of the economy. And it sounds like you are very resilient, which is, makes you successful. So with the current things that are going on in the market right now, I know a lot of people are a little panicky, right? I mean, it's kind of the chatter out there. What advice would you have for entrepreneurs and people who are panicking?
Yeah. Well, I think one of the biggest lessons that I learned in '86 was when I lost everything. Was the first thing that I learned was uh, I could have probably survived that economy crash had I had a mentor or a coach. So, first of all, I'd recommend that people, instead of panicking or worrying about what's going on, you know, um, it was actually one of my mentors from afar. And unfortunately, I never had an opportunity to meet him. He passed away in 2009, which was Jim Rohn. Jim Rohn said, "It's not the wind, but it's the setting of the sail." So when you're in, it's not the economy, and the economy is going to change, and for some it's going to be good, some it's going to be bad. I know that right now with the banking situation, but we have to realize that these things have happened before and people were able to survive them. The people that are not panicking are the people that have money. And one of the reasons why they have the money is because they're not panicking. But I assure you that they have had help in the past and had the guidance. So I think this is something that, first of all, I I don't think it's as big of a deal as what a lot of people are making it out to be, in my opinion. And I'm not an economist. I'm not an attorney. I'm not an accountant. So anything that I'm saying, I'm doing my disclaimer now. So anything that I'm saying, you can take it for whatever it is. But I I don't see it. I see it as micro instead of macro, especially. I mean, when you think about like uh, the bank in Silicon Valley, one of the biggest reasons why they had the crash that they had was because they had all of their. First of all, they did not invest their money that they had on hand properly. But the other thing that about that is that they were in a niche. The majority of the people that they were giving money to were tech startups. So most of the banks out there are very diversified, and they they're not investing your money that they consider to be their money, but they're not investing their money in long term investments like the bank in Silicon Valley did. So that being an example, hey, prices, of things, they've gone up and gone down. My wife and I were talking about this the other day, where we remember when gas broke $1 a gallon, which really wasn't that many years ago. Seems like forever now, but I remember talking to a guy at the gas pump and saying, "Hey, man, seems like we're going to have to take a loan out to get gas when it broke $1." And now I just paid $3.19 a gallon. So and we're doing fine. We're doing fine financially, and it's because of having uh, good guidance and not panicking and doing the right things.
And I like that you said that the people who have money right now are the ones that aren't panicking. And that is probably something a lot of us need to hear, because the panic causes you to make not so wise decisions, and therefore, and what I understand, and I think the natural thing to do is to want to pull back and not spend any money, right? Not to invest even in the business because I've got to hang on to what I have just in case. But really, probably what needs to happen is what you're saying. Get yourself some mentors and coaches. Spend it where you need to build the business. Is that okay?
Yeah. So as an example, and again, I'm not saying that I think that what I'm doing, I am taking advice from some very wise people that have been there before and that have B's in front of their dollars instead of M's. So I am taking advice from people that have truly have billions of dollars. And one of the things that they are doing is they they're keeping themselves cash poor. And so I wake up every morning and try to find a way to invest my money. Keep it somewhere. Now I'm pretty conservative when it comes to that because I'm a little bit older, and in fact I'll be 65. Hopefully I won't look that old, but I'll be 65.
Great.
Thank you. I think it's the NAD. I get IVs about every week, so and I think it's the NAD. But anyway, uh, so I do try to. It, I want to make sure that my money is working for me in some way. And if I wake up every morning and look at my bank account, um, and there's a whole lot of money in my bank account, there's something wrong. I mean, which is, most people are going, Ron, are you absolutely out of your mind? I mean, why would you want to save it? Well, having money in your account, even if you're making anything off of it, setting in your account, you're not going to make more than 1%. You know, you can invest in just about anything and make more than 1%. And I'm not telling anybody what to invest in, but I think people should, like say, I'm pretty conservative with the type of investments that I make. Um, but I think really more for me, uh, it's it gives me a reason to want to get up and want to work. I know your show is the American Dream Makers, right? And so I started working when I was 6. I shine shoes for my lunch money. I'm the product of a mother that was 17 years old when she had me. She didn't have a high school education. She was a waitress. And if I wanted to have lunch with my friends, I had to earn the money. And so I shined shoes for lunch money. I didn't know then. I just I thought other kids did that. I didn't know that I was an anomaly. So, but I'm grateful for it because I think it made me the entrepreneur that I am today. And it made me realize that if I want something, I have to go out and make it happen myself. I can't rely on anybody else, nor do I want to. The other thing to that now in on the other side to that is like I said, I'm almost 65 years old, and I think it was Colonel Sanders. If I'm not sure of the age exactly, but I know that he was in his 60s when he started Kentucky Fried Chicken, and so I don't, and I am uh, I consider myself to be a Christian, as far as my religion is concerned, and nowhere in the Bible does it say anything about retirement. And so I don't ever see myself retiring. And so I don't worry so much about the economy. I don't worry about who the president is. I don't worry about if it's a Republican or a Democrat. I know which way I lean. Some people that are very close to me know what that is. Most people don't. And because I don't think it's important, you know, but but I don't let those kind of things bother me. I just, every morning when I get up, I have a routine that I go through. Part of that routine is looking at my accounts, seeing how much I have in my accounts, and if I feel like I have too much, I'm going to try to find some place to put it. I'm going to try to spend it, and it might be on um, a something that I want to learn, you know, like a podcast, or if I'm, I was a part of the Great American Speak Off a few months ago. I I felt like I was the groomsman and never the groom, because I kept making it past to the second level, which is only less than 5% of the people. And I tried out at two different places, and I made it to the second level twice, which is less than 5% of all the people that were there, and there were thousands. But I never made it to that last level. So one of the things that I'm looking at doing is hiring a coach, so that next year when I go to the Great American Speak Off, I can be on that stage, because they only have four people on the stage out of thousands and thousands of people. But so that's one of the ways that you can make sure that you don't have any money in your account. I know that's counterintuitive, and it almost sounds ridiculous. But the thing about it is that way of thinking has always made it where I've never really had to worry um, about money. And the best thing that ever happened to me was losing my first $1 million. That was the very best thing that happened to me. I learned what it meant that early in life, that not everybody that says that they're your friend or your friends.
Hmm.
It's one of the valuable lessons that I learned. Another valuable lesson that I learned is you learn who your real family is, even though they're blood. That doesn't mean that they necessarily care about you. Um, you learn those kind of lessons too, and other lessons that go along with that part of it as well. But I think the greatest lesson that I learned is hey, if you lose it, you can always get it back. So I would say don't panic and try to spend everything that you have in some way.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate, what you've shared, and something that I'd like for you to maybe elaborate on a little bit more, because some of the viewers also may be curious. So as you're saying that, make sure you don't have any money in your account, and like you said, that is counterintuitive. But you've also stated that you are a Christian in your belief, and so with that, do those two go hand in hand because you trust in God, and because of your faith? Is that why you feel so secure in saying it's okay to not have money in your account so long as you are doing it for something greater than yourself? Is that, can you elaborate that?
Yeah, yeah. I'm glad that you're allowing me to talk about that. A lot of people wouldn't, and I appreciate that. So yeah, I in the Bible it doesn't say that money is the root of all evil. It says the love of money is the root of all evil. And if you're worried about your money, you probably care about it more than some other things that you need to be worried about. And so, yes, a lot of it does have to do with my faith and knowing that God, in my case, the Trinity, Father, Son, and the Holy Ghost, um, that God is in control, and um, and I'm not. And it's great to be able to. Um, an example, um, the other day, I mean, my four, let's see, six of my uh, eight grandsons that live close to me here. I actually have 13 grandsons and daughters total, but the eight that live really close to us, they go to a Christian academy and they do a raffle every year. And so it was really it was fun to be able to, when they call me Pawpaw. And so the other day, um, one of them asked me if I was going to buy some raffle tickets from them, and I said yes. And I asked them how much they were, and um, I ended up giving the one a little bit more than what he was used to being told that he was going to get, as far as buying raffle tickets. And then he said, so his cousin Will was also selling um, the same tickets. And he said, "So are you going to buy some from Will?" And I said, "Yep, I'm going to buy exactly the same amount." He was like, and so being able to do that, and that's part of that every day going into my account. It's one of the things that I do. I wake up, I'm an early morning person, so I get up really, really early. My wife thinks I get up way too early. But part of that routine is going in and making seeing where I am, from a financial standpoint. And I knew how much I could give. And then, when they had a building fund, to be able to commit to that building fund, and so that is part of the giving, and I do believe that we should give our first tenth, not the first tenth of the net, but the first tenth of our earnings should go, uh, to uh, God, and it's His anyway. I'm just a steward of His for Him, and so yes, it's just it really, and if you keep that mindset, you'll be fine. At least I have been.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm appreciate you elaborating on that because you're right. A lot of people don't kind of go down there to talk about, what that all means. And so I'm grateful that you were able to share that portion. And I'm also glad that you just mentioned about being a steward over the things that God has given you. And it's not just money. You've also been a steward, from what I'm hearing from what you're saying. You've been a steward over the gifts and talents and the resources that God has given you, and you have built a business helping others to do the same thing. Is that correct? Did I hear that all correctly?
Yeah,
Wonderful.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, and at this point in my life, I mean, I people that do, like my accountant, for example. I mean, he knows exactly what my financial situation is, and he knows the reason why that I'm not ever going to retire. Of course, he's older than I am, and he doesn't ever plan on retiring, so we have that in common. But at this point in my life, it's more important for me to give back. I mean, I'm fine financially, and now, I'm also, you know, it's one of those deals where I don't have to have the money, but I'll take the money. So, but only so that I can find ways to get rid of it. I'm not gonna. First of all, you can't ever outgive God, and even if you don't believe, even if you're not a believer, and there are some people that I have that are friends that have significant wealth that aren't believers, but they believe in the principles. And some of them that aren't believers like I am are much bigger givers, from not necessarily from a percentage standpoint, but from a monetary standpoint, and from giving of their time. I have a great friend. In fact, I'll go back to, I had a gentleman at my house yesterday that was giving me those an NAD IV. And the other thing that was giving me, we're getting feedback there. Yeah.
Sorry
So
about
that's all right. So when he asked me a question, and so I sent a text to one of the people that are one of my mentors that happens to he's a coach and a mentor, and he charges about $7,000 an hour for his coaching, and he has some very, very big coaching clients. And anyway, I started having him as my coach when he came out of a non-compete. Uh, so when, and Ken knows who I'm talking about, but if you know Ken Walls, but uh, and but when he came out of his non-compete, I was one of his first clients, and at that time, which was a lot of money for me, I went ahead and bit the bullet and hired him as a coach. And now we've become very close friends, and he doesn't, charge me that kind of money. But anyway, the guy that was here asked me a question that, and I texted this person, and he called me, and we had a conversation, for about 10 minutes. And after I got off the phone, I said, yeah, that's the guy that, charges $7,000 an hour. I said, so we took up 10 minutes, and it didn't cost us monetarily, but we gained a lot of knowledge real quick. So he gave of his time, which he's willing to do. If he he he's a very giving person. So um, there's more than one way of giving than just monetarily.
Yes, and I agree. When you apply the principles, even if you're not a believer, you really do reap what you sow. Is what I believe is what it comes down to. There's just certain things in, that you do. Whatever you plant, whatever you sow, is going to be the fruits you're going to reap at some point. And so I love that you shared so deeply, the reasons why you do what you do. It sounds like you really want to give back to others what you've been given, because you had that mentorship. You had somebody pull you up out of the miry pit, so to speak. Now you want to be the one to be able to help others come out of that, which is why you do your coaching and your sales leading, correct? So that's fantastic. And so in this time with uncertainty, as we were kind of mentioning, many business owners are feeling like they need to pull back and maybe not build their team, because they're a little scared. What would you say to them right now? Because I do know of many entrepreneurs who are a little hesitant to build their team. They're like, oh, we might need to downsize. But what do you say about that?
I know it's counterintuitive, but I think you need to go against what everybody else is doing. I think you need to be pouring more into your team. You need to be building your team. Now is a great time to build your team. It doesn't matter if you're in network marketing. It doesn't matter if you're in insurance. It doesn't matter if you're in real estate. It doesn't matter what type, and if you're in sales, it doesn't matter. And it really doesn't matter what type of organization it is that you have. I mean, there are some, in fact, I have found that the best opportunities are when the economy isn't that great. I mean, when you think about it, I mean, that's when the best real estate deals come along because people panic, right? And so it's going to create opportunity for you to get something at a more with a greater value for less money because somebody feels like they're more involved in worrying about what's going to happen instead of embracing what's going on and doing just I think you need to go against the grain.
Yes, for sure. My husband is on here. Hi, Chris. Thanks for thanks for your comment. Thanks for being on here and supporting us today, honey.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah. Well, and having a great supportive spouse also is the secret to success, right? God and then your spouse. You got those two.
Right.
You got those two in your corner, you can accomplish anything, right?
That's right. That is right. Yeah.
Yeah. And thank you so much for those who are joining us, today. And we really appreciate it. We've got someone saying that they're looking forward to losing their first $1 million too.
Hey, well, it's not something that yeah, that's kind of a double-edged sword. It was the best thing that ever happened to me. Do I ever want it to happen again? No, I don't. Fortunately, um, I have a little bit different situation. Today, like I say, it was mainly through having mentorship and coaching and some people that really did take an interest in me and that they say that you are an equivalent of the top 5 people that you have in your life. And so I've been very fortunate to have some people in my life. Tomorrow I'm going to a mastermind. That there will be people that there will be worth of over billions of dollars, not just a billion, but billions of dollars uh, from that room financially, but the wisdom and being able to be around people like that you can ask them their advice and you can ask them what their opinion is. And, that's invaluable. And it can save you from having to lose your first million. Make it and give it, and make it and spend it. And when I say spend, I really mean invest. I mean, invest in people, invest in whatever it is that you're going to invest in, whatever, um, you know, like for example, I'm looking at investing in an IV bar because I believe, as I've already stated, I believe in um, making myself healthy and having vitamins that are directly pumped into my veins. Yesterday I went to go see my dad that is in the hospital because he has COPD and he has COVID, and so he's in the hospital. And so before I went, I made sure I had an extra dose of vitamin C that was along with the NAD that was pumped into my vein. But that's one of my passions. It drives some of my family crazy, and they think I'm crazy because they know how afraid of needles I am. But I'm willing to let them, on a weekly or a biweekly basis, stick a needle in my arm and pump fluids in it. but but that's one of the investments that I want to make. Uh, is it?
Yeah.
I don't know if it's an investment or not, but anyway, we'll see.
Well, it is, and it's an investment in your health, because your health, being that's part of being a good steward, is taking care of your body that you've been given as well. So, and Ron, again, I thank you so much that you've taken time out of your busy schedule. And yes, American Dream Makers, it's all about, um, the what is it, the pursuit of life, liberty, and happiness, and all that encompasses our personal well-being, our spiritual well-being, our physical, and our wealth. That we have the freedom to pursue those things. And what an inspiring wisdom that you have shared with us today to achieve that American dream. And so, leaving one more thing for our audience, what would you say that you haven't said already, that someone needs to hear today to really not only accomplish the American dream if they haven't already, but sustain it or even scale it up?
Yeah. So I think I think it's important that I mentioned a moment ago that my mother was 17 years old when she had me, and she was a single mom, and she did a great job. And she married my stepdad when I was 9, and like I said, I went to go see him yesterday. But my mother passed away this past December, and um, you know, I never realized how intuitive and how much or how observant my mother really was until I was sitting next to her on on her deathbed, and her last words to me were, "Ronnie, I'm really proud of you and your accomplishments." And she didn't say, "I was disappointed when you lost your $1 million." She didn't say, you know, she didn't have any disappointments. It was all about that she was really proud of me. And those were the best words I could have possibly heard. And it was worth more than any amount of money that anybody could have ever given to me. And
Wow.
so,
Thank you for that. Yeah, that is something that is very sweet. And I appreciate you sharing that. Something that also crossed my mind as you were talking earlier, that I just wanted to kind of put it out there. You talked about losing that $1 million was probably the best thing that happened to you. And many of us go through a lot of different hardships. So whether it's losing a million, or it's just having some sort of crazy hardship, reminds me of the Bible verse of James 1, verse 2, count it all joy, my brothers and sisters, when you meet various trials of all kinds, for you know that the testing of your faith produces steadfastness, and let steadfastness have its full effect, that you may be perfect and complete, lacking in nothing. My dear friend Ron, I applaud you, because it seems that you have allowed the storms in your life to have truly perfected you, and you are not lacking anything because your faith has deepened. And now you have something amazing to share with the world. So keep the good work going. You are touching many lives. You guys, let me put on how you can get a hold of my friend here. I thought I had your information, Ron. It is, well, give me your website. I thought I had it on here, but I guess I don't have it typed in right now.
Yeah, so it's www.rlvirtualmarketing.com. And if you want to set an appointment with me, it'd be /Ron.
Okay.
Or / whichever one that is. Yeah.
There it is. rlvirtualmarketing.com.
Yep.
And then from that, you can definitely click to schedule with you, correct?
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Wonderful. Well, again, I thank you so much, and you are fantastic, and I wish you all the wonderful blessings poured out on you. And I'm going to close up this thing. I'm going to put you back into the green room. Please don't leave. I'll be right back, okay?
Tina,
Okay.
thank you. It was a pleasure. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. All right. All right, guys, thank you for watching today. If you liked what you saw, please be sure to share it. If you're watching the replay, please let me know in the replay. And if you have any questions at all, please don't be shy. And if you want to get a hold of Ron, reach him at www.rlvirtualmarketing.com.